What's up, SyEn3rgetiX Money Team? I appreciate you guys for tuning in today. And for those of you who are new, we are on our Let's Learn Business series. This is part 3 of Contagious, which is a book that basically explains how to get your post viral and the sociology and psychology of what goes on behind the scenes when people choose a certain brand versus another brand, or a certain product versus another product, and then it just blows up and completely goes viral. The contagiousness of something like that, how it spreads. So that is what we are focusing on today. If you haven't already, be sure to check out part 1 and part 2, which are free and available on YouTube. My channel is called SyEn3rgetiX. If you go over there and check out those videos, make sure you guys are taking notes, because it's very important that you retain this information, because it's only going to help you further your business. Announcements. So I'm working on a website right now, and I'm hoping to have that website up by the end of June. It will have more information on the memberships and the process of how to go about getting your memberships and what's included in each membership, as well as a little bit about SyEn3rgetiX Money Team and what that's about. So make sure you guys stay tuned so that you guys are ready. Go like my Facebook page, SyEn3rgetiX, so that when the website drops, you guys are available to check it out. Also, this will be the last free class of the Contagious course. Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3 are available, will be available on YouTube. Part 1 and 2 are available, but once this one gets done, this one will be available on YouTube as well. After that, you are going to have a membership to access further content regarding this series of the Let's Learn Business series. If you guys are interested in purchasing the full course, just go ahead and send me a message on SyEn3rgetiX on the Facebook page, and I will go ahead and get that sorted for you, as well as give you details of each membership and what each membership entails. And that is another reason why I'm working on the website, so that you guys can just click and go straight to it. Let's get started. So part 3, if you guys tuned into part 2, we stopped at, are some things just born word of mouth worthy? So this guy named Tom Dickerson, he graduated from Brigham Young University in 1971 with a degree in engineering, and he's of a Mormon faith, which that'll be important as we go on. So after he graduated, he moved back, but of course in engineering the market was rough and there was no real opportunities, so he began working with a company that was engineering birth control and intrauterine devices. And of course this went against his faith, and so he wanted something different, he wanted something new. So he had always been interested in bread making, and as he pursued his hobby, he failed to find a good home grinder to make flour with. So he put his engineering skills to the test and created his own, with only a $10 vacuum motor that milled finer flour at a cheaper price than any other grinder on the market. He started producing a larger scale and ended up moving back to Utah to start his own blender company. And by 1995, he produced his first home blender. And in 1999, Blendtec was founded. This guy Tom, he hired a colleague of his named George Wright as his marketing director. And every morning, Wright would test the durability and the power of the Blendtec blenders they were making. And he did this by putting unnatural items and unconventional items into the blender. And in this case, he puts a 2x2 wooden boards and other items into the blender. This ended up giving him an idea. So with a $50 budget, George went and spent his money on glass marbles, golf balls, a rake, and a lab coat, so Tom could look fancy. He put Tom in the blender in front of a camera, and he recorded Tom's blender completely breaking the marbles down and demolishing it into like a fine flour-looking powder, and demolishing everything else, even the rake. And he posted it on YouTube and crossed his fingers. And of course, people were amazed. They're calling it the ultimate blender, which eventually, getting all the views and all the hype, it inspired them to keep going with it and put even more unconventional items into the blender. I think they even put a whole iPhone into the blender, and they titled it Will It Blend on YouTube. And in the first week, they received 60 million viewers and hit a viral home run. So the series as a whole received more than 300 million views. Within 2 years, the campaign increased blender sales by 700%, from videos made for less than a few $100s for video, and all for a product that people would seem not even word of mouth worthy, a blender. So this story demonstrates a key takeaway of contagious content, that going viral is not born, it's made. Even regular everyday products and ideas can generate lots of word of mouth if someone knows the right way to do it. So no matter how boring or unexciting a product or idea may seem, there's always a way to make it contagious. So how can we design products and ideas and behaviors that get people talking? That's by studying social influence. While Jonah Berger was in college taking a science class, he came to wonder if he could use scientific toolkits to study complex social phenomena. The same research tools in biology and chemistry would be used in the study of social influence and interpersonal communication. So he started taking psychology and sociology courses and got involved with how people perceive themselves and others. And after reading a book his grandma referred to him called The Tipping Point, though he loved it, it failed to emphasize on a singular frustrating issue he had. The book's ideas were mainly descriptive and didn't really explain why things catch on and the underlying human behaviors that drove these outcomes. So after he spent more than a decade of researching, he spent his time as a marketing professor at Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania studying this and related questions. He examined things like why certain New York Times articles and YouTube videos go viral, why some products get word of mouth, why certain political messages spread, when and why certain baby names catch on or die out, and we talked a little bit about this in part 1, and when negative publicity increases versus decreases your sales. So he started teaching a course at Wharton called Contagious. And the premise was no matter what business you're in, you need to understand how to make your products and ideas catch on. As he taught, his students began asking for more relatable resources, a book that would provide them with research-based principles for why things catch on. And this is that book. We're going to get into the 6 Principles of Contagiousness, which this pretty much is, in a nutshell, the meat of the book. This is the next chapters throughout the book. We'll talk about these 6 principles and break it down even further. So within his research, Jonah Berger noticed that the common themes or attributes across a range of contagious content, a recipe, if you will, for making products, ideas, and behaviors more likely to become popular. If you tuned in to our part 1 about the $100 cheesesteaks and the ultimate blender, both invoke emotions like surprise and amazement. And they make the teller look cool for passing it on. Who would have thought that a blender would shed an iPhone or a cheesesteak would cost $100, bruh? So after he analyzed hundreds of contagious messages, products, ideas, these same 6 ingredients or principles were at work. And he describes it as 6 key steps with 2 P's that causes things to be talked about and shared and imitated. So the first one we have is social currency. And that chapter will go into how does it make people look to talk about a product or an idea. What we talk about influences how others see us. Knowing about cool things like a blender that can tear through an iPhone makes people seem sharp and in the know. To get people talking, we need to craft messages that help achieve these desired impressions. We need to find our inner remarkability and make people feel like insiders. We need to leverage game mechanics and give people ways of achieving and provide visible symbols of status that they can show to others. Number 2, we have triggers. How do we remind people to talk about our product and ideas? Triggers are small stimuli that prompt people to think about certain things. Peanut butter makes you think about jelly. A dog makes you think about a cat. People tend to think about what comes to mind. The more often people think about a product or idea, the more it will be talked about. We need to design products or ideas that are frequently triggered by the environment and create new triggers linking our products and ideas to prevalent cues in that environment. Top of mind leads to tip of tongue, and that is very true. So number 3, we have emotion. When we care, we share. How can we craft messages and ideas that make people feel something? Naturally, contagious content will evoke some sort of emotion. Emotional things often get shared. Rather than focusing on the function, we need to focus on the feelings. Some emotions increase sharing while others decrease it, so you have to be careful. We have to pick up the right emotions to invoke and kindle the fire. And sometimes negative emotions can be useful. Number 4, we have public. Can people see when others are using our product or engaging in our desired behavior? Think of the quote, monkey see, monkey do. This phrase shows us that it's hard to copy something you can't see. So making things more observable makes them easier to imitate, which makes them more likely to become popular. We need to design products and initiatives that advertise themselves and create behavioral residue that sticks around even after people have bought the product or exposed to the idea. Number 5, practical value. How can we craft content that seems useful? People like to help others, so if we can show them that our product or our ideas will save them time or improve their health or save them money, they'll definitely spread the word. We need to make our message stand out. We need to understand what makes something seem like a particularly good deal and highlight the incredible value of what we have to offer. We need to pack our knowledge and expertise so that people can easily pass it on as well. The last one, stories. What broader narrative can we wrap our ideas in? People don't just share information, they tell stories. Stories are vessels that carry morals and lessons. Information travels in the guise of what seems like idle chatter. We need to build our own Trojan horses, embedding our product and ideas into stories that people want to tell. We need to make the concept of going viral valuable. We need to make our message so integral to the narrative that people cannot tell a story without it. So these are the 6 principles of contagiousness. They are products or ideas that contain social currency, are triggered, emotional, public, practically valuable, and wrapped into stories. So people talked about cheesesteak at Barclay Prime. If you were there for part 1, you understand that reference. They talked about it because it gave them social currency. It was triggered, the high-frequency cheesesteaks in Philly. It was emotional. It was very surprising. It was practically valuable because it had useful information about a high-quality steakhouse, and it was wrapped in a story. So these are the main things that this book will dive into. Part 1 and Part 2 are more so talking about the introduction, who Jonah Berger, or kind of a little bit about what he did and how he came about to be on this journey of his business. Next part, we're going to get into all of this. All of this right here is the meat and potatoes of this book. And that is the end of part 3, guys. I really appreciate you guys checking it out. Like I said before, if you haven't checked out parts 1 and 2, definitely check it out. And anything after this, you will have to have a membership to access. You just need to send me a message and I'll let you know all the details on that. I hope you guys can definitely learn something from it and advance yourselves, advance your whatever, your posts, your products, into implementing some of these principles and help you advance your business. That's it, guys. I'll see you in the next one.